Hi guys, Sullivan Owen here in Philadelphia inside the SunBubble, where it is currently 75 degrees and 34 degrees outside. It's been a little while. I needed to take a couple weeks off from videos, partially just because the garden was, and in some places still is, covered in snow. We had one of the snowiest Februaries I think we've had since 2016. I know certainly we did not have the worst of that February weather, so I hope if you're in one of the areas that was really impacted by the abnormally cold February, you have water and power and everything's okay. But so everything in the bubble is stuff I'm holding. When last we met, I had cleared out the seed starting room and was storing the Anemone and Ranunculus trays for sprouting in the basement. They sprouted really quickly. I think in future I need to sprout them in a colder location, because basically I was already starting that project early, and combined with the warmer temperatures and then the freezing cold weather, I've had to kind of hold them for 6 weeks now, and they really are ready to get out of these teeny little cells. So I actually saw the tiniest little flower on one of them, and I know they'll just take off as soon as the ground temperature and the air temperature is hovering. They can go to the low 30s at night. We just have a few more days where it's going to be closer to the high 20s, mid 20s, and then next week, so like 4 days from now, we should have like the first true week feeling like spring. So they're ready to go. So in one way, it's really nice to have so much stuff that will be ready to like burst into color, since I just found the first daffodil foliage, hyacinths. I don't even have snowdrops yet. The hellebores are all, I just checked on them. A lot of them are frozen still. So they'll be fine. It's just everything is a lot later because of the cold spell. It's not that it was abnormal weather for February. It's just we've had fairly warm Februaries the last 4 years. So I had anticipated being able to do a lot more in the garden at the end of February. So I won't be starting this many Anemone and Ranunculus so early again. I am still planning to do the second round, so we'll probably sprout them out here in the bubble, or maybe just in trays in a cool shady location, and those will also go. So unfortunately, part one of my Anemone and Ranunculus project, where I was trying to just do it with trays and frost cloth and a sunny location, I just knew that I would ruin the experiment if I threw them out in the snow. And so that, I don't want to say you have to have a greenhouse, you have to have a tunnel, you have to have grow lights, but if you're going to accidentally start them too early and then get 1.5 feet of snow every week for the whole month of February, you might want to just start them a little later. So that was a mistake. But the other thing was that, last year, because this is the anniversary for us, I think, of when Philly started to shut down. Last year we were home, so I was really observant of the weather. It was cold, but I was still doing stuff. I started doing my planters and things like that. And so I just anticipated, that I would be able to do that again this year. The weather is doing its own thing. So hopefully this is just a couple more days. I actually just went around with my, this is a great tool, a dibbler. This one's from Johnny's. I don't think Johnny's is, I think Johnny's might be maxed out on online orders, but, just be patient. But that's a great tool. That's the perfect size for poking holes to just pop these plugs into. And I just walked around to a couple of the beds that have had their snow melt for about a week. We still have snow in some other places, but I think I'll be able to start putting at least some of the anemones out in the next day or two, even if it's going to get cold at night. So the other thing that's happening in here is I I optimistically ordered a bunch of liner plants. Those are small sizes that landscapers or nurseries get to grow on. Because I have so much space to fill and an even more limited budget this year after not working much this past year, I opted to buy a lot of small starter plants. These are actually not that small. This is a 21 tray. So that's pretty good for a couple bucks. Because we have a lot of space to cover, or I'm just going to be weeding for the rest of my life, or having to take out a second mortgage to pay for mulch to cover everything to keep the weeds from coming back with a vengeance. So anyway, so out here, the bubble, things are looking good in the bubble. I actually just watered because it's been getting pretty hot in here during the day. It goes up to about 80 with the sun. These are the butterfly ranunculus. Those are super ready to get planted, but actually those are the last ones to go out. They are definitely more of a temperate climate flower. So the more traditional ranunculus and anemones can go out when it's still getting down to like low 30s at night, as long as we're getting sun. And just need things to dry out. There's so much snow melt. Everything's soggy. The bubble was full of snow. I had to put the bubble up in a snowstorm, or right before the next snowstorm, so that I would have some place to put these. So with that being said, I kept these under the lights for a couple weeks because it was just too cold to even put the bubble up. And then I put the bubble up because I realized I wasn't going to be able to start any seeds if my lights were all full of anemones and ranunculus. So unfortunately the plastic broke in a couple places because of the extreme cold, but ideally I'll have a shed / greenhouse for next year, and this is hopefully the last year for the bubble. I got some clear vinyl tape to repair it. It will be fine. It's been holding the temperature. It's been down in the 19, 20 at night in here a couple times, but except for when I was just bringing the plants out here, I haven't really used the frost cloth, though I have enough in this gigantic pile to do a double layer if I need to. Okay, so let's go take a quick look downstairs at what's growing from seed. I couldn't start seeds down there until obviously I moved all of this stuff out. So I got started maybe only a week or two later than I had thought, but I have successfully started sowing much fewer of things, so that's good. Even though I'm kind of astounded that the bubble is so full of plants already, I'm excited because it means that as soon as I can work the soil, I can start getting stuff out there, and this stuff is so excited and ready to bloom. So it should have flowers pretty soon. And, you know, I just did a lap, and the daffodils, hyacinths, everything's starting to poke out of the ground now that the snow is disappearing, and by the end of next week, we're going to be in the mid 60s, and that should, you know, that'll just really like start heating up the soil and everything will start to grow. So let's go check out the seedlings and see what's started. And I'm very proud. I've only started the smaller quantities that I said I was going to down there. Well, once I got the anemones and ranunculus out into the SunBubble, I was able to finally start some seeds. And this set of 2 shelves is where my LED lights are. And these are cool. So these don't heat the seeds at all. So this is larkspur. So I've heard a lot of people struggle with larkspurs and delphiniums. They're the same family. They really just prefer cool, damp soil temperatures to get started. So I didn't do anything special. This is just potting mix that was damp, and I sprinkled the seeds on top and just stuck it over here. No lid, no anything. And I think, no, I mixed 3 varieties that are all different shades of lavender. but apparently it didn't write the date. And they're just kind of emerging. There's a few cells that look like nothing's happening, but I have a feeling they'll come in there. And I'll thin these a little bit, but I am probably going to keep 2 plants per plug because of the way I'm going to kind of just pop these plugs into the garden bed. Now, the sweet pea, since sweet pea seeds can be expensive on an individual seed basis, I decided to wrap the seeds in wet paper towels and put them in a dark, warm place until the seed shells cracked and I saw signs of life. Sorry, those are broccoli. You don't care about those right now. So this is a type of sweet pea that is a little bit different than a traditional cut flower sweet pea. The rest are all just individuals. These are older seeds from last year, so I tried to start everything I had, and I only had germination on a couple of them. So some of those seeds might have been 2 years old. But I only planted out in the cells anything that sprouted. So for the most part, I think every cell in this tray is going, and there are a few in these different format cells that I think I probably buried a little bit deeper. And if I don't see any life, I'll just, if I have an extra plant, I'll pop it in. But if not, I should have anywhere from 5 to 6 of each variety. And then there are a couple of mixed varieties that I did as many as 18 of. So I don't know if I'm gonna bump these up to another container size or make kind of long, skinny paper pots in the shape of like a root trainer. I don't really want to buy any root trainers. I'm trying really hard to limit the amount of stuff that I have to add. So I had these kind of deeper cells. So here is the one thing after I just finished saying I don't want to buy anything else, I end up buying something else. But I saw that Kevin at Epic Gardening had introduced his own 6-cell module with Modern Grower. And I decided that because they're the rigid plastic, but it lets you start a slightly more generous sized plug, then these are Pro Grower trays. And as you can see, I just started in rows because this is at a max 9. That's about how many I need. So when I saw he introduced these, I ordered the large pack of them, which is 120 pieces, which felt like overkill, but his other size pack is 24, and honestly, that's just 2 trays. So it's probably a little too many, but I will definitely use them. And I think they're great. I will be starting everything in them going forward. And I bought them. This isn't sponsored. I just think they're exactly the type of product that I was looking for when we last spoke. I talked about how I wanted to find something that was solid and reliable, durable, wasn't gonna fall apart after one season. And, you can watch his video if you want to see these cuts in the side prevent the roots from circling and choking the plant. So it's called air pruning. If a root reaches here, it's not going to be able to leap past. And if anyone's curious, the soil does not fall through. And I did pack them in using another piece. They hold a generous amount of soil for a plug, and it's perfect for just 6 of something. Maybe 12 if you really love it. So I decided, so that is the one thing that I added this year. Had I had these early, I would have started all the sweet peas in them. But I think they got here the very last week of February, and I had already needed to start potting these guys. This, I really need to crack this. So I think in my other video about the stuff that you need, I mentioned that I don't really use my heat mats. And this is why. The heat from the light creates enough of a temperature change with the tray to get the condensation to form. I just started these last night. I think they're a bunch of poppies and Nicotiana and things like that. So I just took the lid off of this one, even though only the Silene / Sculpit had sprouted. But I think there's like a little bit of green starting with some of the phlox. So I just saw things turning a little bit green, and I'm really trying to avoid any kind of fungus or damping off stuff. So another tray of poppies. I have had mixed luck getting I have actually had good luck getting poppies to Germany. I just find that the lights are too hot. So I'm hoping that because it's now the first week of March, that when I pot up the sweet peas to the next size that I'm going to give them, I can just take them straight outside. And I'll have this kind of cool shelf, cooler temperature under the lights to move things to. There's lots of different stuff in here, but there is asters, and these two are milkweed. They are a little slower to germinate. Some different delphiniums. Columbine. Columbine is really slow to germinate and needs cooler temperatures. So, so I wish I had the Epic Gardening 6-pack cells before this, because this one's going to be a little bit of work. I'm going to have to pop out the plants that are ready to go, leave some in there, and it'll be difficult to, refill it and reuse it. So there are a lot of different YouTubers that come out with different products and things like that, but I would say this is a really good one. This is one of the better ideas I've seen, just because it's something that is really, really useful. So I saw a lot of people saying that 24-pack to 120, that they wished that there was something somewhere in between. I think for the value, the bigger size is great. It comes out to, I want to say it was maybe $1 and change shipped, delivered. And yeah, a disposable cell is certainly a lot cheaper, but these will be in use for me inside and out. They are not necessarily just for seed starting. I can start, now I can start modules of my cool season vegetables, because I still can't really dig in the soil to sow them directly. So I can start some beets. I have broccoli, Chinese, and regular started. I can start lettuce cells, which is not my preferred way to do lettuce, but since our temps are still so cold, I can at least get them going. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and thank you for your patience while I had a snowy month of projects. I did finish a ton of new vases that I was working on for a photo shoot that I have coming up. So that's kind of what I was doing, especially with the snow. I really could not do much with the garden, and I think it was actually the right thing to do, because if I hadn't had the vases to work on, I probably would have started so many more seeds, just because there is something really therapeutic about just, filling a tray, sprinkling some seeds in, getting it ready, and, watering the seedlings every day. Things out here have been needing water pretty much every other day, though as it's getting sunnier and warmer in here during the day, I think I'm going to have to water a little more frequently. Hopefully next week we'll look at some of the anemones and ranunculus going into the flower beds and be refreshing planters, and maybe start talking about what some of the planter design possibilities are. I have some pansies ready to go. Obviously, a wide assortment of both anemones and ranunculus to add into the planters. I think I'm going to make an effort to try to at least start the planters with some of what I have, and not go too crazy. But as soon as the weather is consistently here in the 50s during the day, the garden centers all start bringing in all their annuals. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's like itching for some color and some life, especially after all the snow. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. The cats and I do appreciate it. I am still on my pandemic-enforced sabbatical, so YouTube is actually my only source of income these days. If you want to share the channel with a flower-loving friend, subscribe, send a video to somebody that you think might enjoy it. I sincerely appreciate the support. It really means a lot during, you know, just an all-around unprecedented and difficult year. So I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully we can get started on some planters and some actual gardening.